Hey guys, Breaky CPK here, of course, and this is daily recap for January 5th, 2018. And going into today, I really thought I was just going to be talking about the previous day that was the Galaxy Battle, or not that, just it. So what I thought I was going to be doing was talking about just the Captain's Draft Tournament. Of course, I am here in DC, that's why I'm have this shitty setup going on, so again, I do apologize for that, but I'm here in my hotel room in Washington, DC itself, and I'm currently recording this, getting ready to go to the main event portion, that is, because the group stages took place yesterday, and it was held in the hotel rooms for that the players never want to stay in. Now, like a lot of these events do, they usually have the group stages initially in some kind of hotel, and then the main event, the tournament, the playoffs, take place at a venue. So, gonna be heading there later today. Really excited to check it out. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't actually gotten to really see anyone yet, despite being here for basically 2 full days. Let's just say I maybe came out a day early, and I did not think about that when I was getting my tickets to fly out here, that the group stages wouldn't necessarily be open to the public. Now, I did head over to the hotel actually yesterday. I actually met up with Sajidine there, who's obviously doing a lot of organizing for the event. And she made the point, and I want to be very, very clear. I mean, I completely understand, but they're just so busy, and all the rooms and everything that they're working in are very packed, so I wasn't able to really get to talk or see anyone other than her. But again, I completely understand, doing so many of these events myself in the past. I was more than okay with that. What I ended up doing yesterday, in fact, was I was walking around downtown DC, despite it being very cold and very windy. I was walking around downtown DC and checking out a lot of the museums. I went to the Museum of American History specifically, and I spent a good 2.5 hours there. I mean, it was a crazy museum, a lot to check out, and I was definitely happy that I did that. So I've never been to DC before, and I figured I'm here, why not take advantage of that? So, and that's where the hotel happened to be very close to where I was at the time. So again, it really wasn't a big deal going out of my way. But point is, I'm extra excited now to see everyone today. Alright, with all of that said, again, I thought that was going to be the only thing I was going to be talking about here on the daily recap. Some pretty big news came out late last night, though, but concerning the Galaxy Battles tournament, we'll get to that shortly. But first, I do think it's still important to start with the Captain's Draft event currently going on, and at least recap how the group stages went as of yesterday. So, as you can see, results-wise, or for those of you that perhaps are listening to the audio only, again, it was a GSL format from Group Horse and Group Hippo, Group A and B. Also another way to put it. Every team advanced on to the quote-unquote playoff stage, which then is a single elimination tournament, which that's the main event. That's what starts today here. Mineski actually took the group stages initially, as they had to defeat both Vici Gaming as well as Team Secret to do so. And when I was previewing these group stages, I made the point, I thought for sure Secret was going to be the team to beat, and pretty handily would take first place. But at the same time, this is Captain's Draft, man. It's Captain's Draft and best of one. As I also said, anything can happen, really, in both of these groups. And we did get a bit of that in Group Horse, no doubt. Group Horse, I think, maybe surprised people. Again, Mineski, which Mineski team were we going to see? Was it going to be the one of a little bit more recently that hasn't been as on fire as they were at the beginning of the season? Or was it going to be the one from the previous, being on fire? Well, we got our answer. Again, these are best of one, so not to take away from these results and be like, oh, well, it doesn't really mean anything. But I do think that it's really important to reiterate, they only played 2 games in total. Mineski, that is. Empire, on the other hand, only played 2 games because they lost both their games, and thus knocked them, to the final spot where then they get the first place opponent from Group Hippo. Anyway, so that you do see Mineski, they did get to run some Dark Willow in their first matchup against Team Empire right there. Turned out to work very well for them. And then in their second match against Team Secret, that's where it really, made a big statement. Very solid lineup they were able to draft, actually. Nyx Assassin, Rasta, Razor, Ember Spirit, and Tidehunter. I mean, that's a team where you would not expect it to be Captain's Draft necessarily. I could see that as an actual draft for a team in a normal event. So, Mineski clearly got a very comfortable lineup when it came to facing off against Team Secret. Secret ended up running a Naga Siren themselves. It looks like more of a support Naga Siren. Again, I say that I did not get the chance to watch every single game by any means, guys. Like I said, I was out and about. I'm here in DC. I figured I would enjoy my time here as well. But so I'm kind of referencing what I'm seeing on Wikipedia right here. But Secret running the support Naga Siren didn't work out for them. Point is, Mineski wins it, defeated Secret to ultimately move on as a first place seed in Group Horse. And I think especially in Group Horse, that was extra important to get first place because, as more expected in Group Hippo, Pain Gaming did finish last place. They struggled against OG initially, and then they went on to lose against EG in their next matchup, both in under 30-minute matches. So I still stand by, I think Pain Gaming is ultimately outmatched here at this event. And Mineski, no doubt, got the easiest opponent that they could ask for out of Group Hippo. It's not going to be a guaranteed win. I mean, we've seen South American teams in these events, especially seeing elimination before. SG Esports over Secret at the Kiev Major. Anyways, anything can happen still. It is a Captain's Draft event, but I think Mineski is definitely very, very satisfied, of course, getting that 1 seed and who their opponent is as a result. Group Hippo over to that 1 seed. Oh, actually, real quickly on Group Horse, Secret ended up finishing 3rd place. They ended up then losing to Vici Gaming, and again, that's very important in itself. That determined the opponents in the first round as well. And speaking of that, now Group Hippo, OG did take Group Hippo. They had to defeat Pain Gaming first, and then they took out Complexity. Complexity, because they defeated EG initially, is why they faced off against them. EG and Complexity ended up facing off again in the third place seeding spot, and EG then won that second game and ultimately advanced on to the next round. So EG in their debut with their new roster of Misery and of course swapping things around, they went 2-1. I did get the chance to catch a couple of their games, including their last one against Complexity. I mean, they looked fairly good. Sumail on the Clockwork was really interesting. Again, it's still so funky seeing Sumail on these kind of heroes that aren't his typical mid heroes, of course. But he played the Clockwork there, and it was a very slow start. He fed early on, I noticed, but that's his playstyle. You know, he's a very YOLO-ish player. He likes to make plays. And so, of course, chat was reacting to that. Then all of a sudden, it seemed like he took over. He started really controlling the pace of the game. They ran a Clockwork Ricky, actually, and the Ricky would just smokescreen on top of the COG combo, which made it impossible to do anything against if you happen to get caught 1 or 2 people. So that proved to be too much of an issue for Complexity. And again, EG took that series and thus got the 2nd seed. So now, what makes this kind of interesting, to be fair, when that match happened, they did not know what Group Horse was looking like initially, or Group A. Because Group B, Group Hippo, they went a lot quicker than Group Horse did as far as playing their game. So by the time Complexity EG was finished, they were just finishing up the Empire Vici Gaming series for Group Horse. They still needed to then play the final series to determine the 2nd, 3rd place seeds themselves. And what was really interesting about that, how that ended up playing out, because EG, like I said, so they defeated Complexity, they got 2nd place. Congratulations, you get to face Team Secret in the first round of the single elimination tournament, is their result, because Secret ended up losing to Vici Gaming, as we talked about. So if I'm Complexity, no doubt I can speak for them. I'll 100% speak for them. They are ecstatic that they lost to EG. Again, at the time, they didn't know that. It would have been really interesting, I'll say this, and this is where I think this format could have been a little funky, is that if the Secret Vici Gaming had happened before Complexity EG, then I would not be surprised if... Because, you know, you look at that, obviously, knowing that Secret's going to be 3rd, if you're one of those teams, if you would rather play Vici Gaming. Both of those teams, I guarantee you, would rather play Vici Gaming. Nothing against Vici Gaming. They're a very good team as well out of China recently. But Secret is the top dog team right now in the standings, and they are a very, very good-looking team overall. Arguably the best team in the world at this point. I think you can comfortably say both these teams would have rather faced Vici Gaming. It didn't work out that way in the sense that they played first, so we didn't have that, thankfully, which again could have caused a little bit of an interesting issue. But point is, Complexity, they now play Vici Gaming in the first round, and Evil Geniuses plays Team Secret in the first round, and that's actually going to be happening later today, which obviously that's one of the biggest matches. That could have easily been the final matchup, let alone the first round matchup now. So that is the downside of running in a single elimination tournament, especially with a very simple initial group stage format. Though that was the GSL best of 1. That's probably the most simple you can do. Again, teams literally only play 2-3 games at the most. this format, it's a very horrible format, frankly. No minor or major event should run a format like this. Now, I'm being a little bit more lenient on this event because, one, this is Moonduck's first big event that is LAN event, so I can completely understand from their perspective that they wanted to have it pretty simple. And two, it is a captain's draft event in itself. So, I see, now that I'm saying that, I don't know if that necessarily should be okay with it. It's a minor, and this has points on the line. So, I'm almost convincing myself now as I say that. Again, being the first event, I still stand by, okay, I get it. But man, this format, it is way too simple to be determining points on the line. It is only one minor in a big scheme. It's a very small percentage of the points. I would say it's like 2 or 3% or something like that, the overall points. So again, in that perspective, not the biggest deal, but I really hope events do not use these very simple formats in coming minors and majors, especially as we move along in the season. Anyways, that's another discussion for another day. So you see the final matchups real quick again for those that are maybe on the audio and can't see this. Mineski is playing Pain Gaming later on today, or they're the first matchup today. The winner of that will move on. Evil Genius's Secret, they play, as I said, later on today. After that, the winner of that series, then they play each other in the semifinals later on. So today we'll have our first finalist, actually. Day 2 then takes place. The lower portion bracket then happens. It's Complexity versus Vici to kick it off, and then OG versus Team Empire as well. The winners of those series move on to the semifinals again, and then ultimately to the finals. And then day 3 is the grand finals itself, which that is best of 5. And there apparently is some show match. I don't think there's been too much information on that just yet, but so those are how the brackets are looking. And again, can't wait to get that kicked off later on today. So as far as predictions for today, man, it's gonna come down, obviously, I don't know. Evil Genius's Secret, I can't call that one, man. If I had to call, okay, Mineski over Pain Gaming, no doubt. I want to say Secret. I mean, Evil Geniuses are still testing out this new roster, and yes, they went 2-1 in groups, but again, I've said this, I'm like a freaking broken record. The group stages didn't really mean the most. This is where it really matters. Single elimination, you lose, you're actually done, and you're facing off against the best team in the world in Team Secret. So I think Secret definitely has an advantage here. I'm going to pick them. And then with that said, I'm going to go with the upset in the semifinals, though. If you could even call it, yeah, I think it's safe to say to call it that whenever you're going up against the best team. I'm going to say Mineski then moves on to the finals. So I'm going to say the Southeast Asia representation. They did look pretty strong yesterday. They defeated both Secret and Vici to get to their first place seed. I think they're going to continue that momentum and go to the finals today. So that's my prediction. Secret over EG, Mineski over Pain Gaming, and then Mineski over Secret. We'll see how that plays out right there. All right. So, like I said, I thought that was going to be it for today and wrapping things up, but no. It turns out there's some more interesting, fairly big news coming out as of yesterday. So let me actually pull it up right here real quickly. Here, didn't open up the correct tab. 1 second, guys. All right, so this news came out pretty late last night. Galaxy Battles Major, which I've said from the beginning, I've always felt it was odd. When we were previewing this the other day, in fact, I think on my daily recap, I made the point, see, Galaxy Battle, getting a minor, I would have been okay, you know, again, they're a newer organization on the scene. Their event last year was fairly rocky, both the qualifiers, because I casted some of the qualifiers, I remember, and it seemed very disorganized, but, you know, they ultimately got it done, and then the event itself, it went a little rocky, but whatever, it happened. But then it was announced again, it's going to be a major, and it's like, okay, wow, so they must be really stepping up their game. This news came out last night. So what essentially, the TLDR, it's not that biggest paragraph, but what the TLDR is, Valve officially announced last night that they are pulling the circuit points and as well as their prize pool. So basically all their connections with Galaxy Battles Majors concerning the Dota 2 Pro circuit, they're pulling that away from them. The biggest reason they're doing this is based on what we feel are unreasonable infringements on the privacy of the players as a condition to enter the country. So that line right there essentially says why Valve did it. Now, what eventually became to be found out as a result of this was, I guess it was a more recent change in the Philippines that labels esports players now as athletes, which you would think, okay, yeah, that's awesome, you know, great, we're making progress towards getting these recognition, right? Well, there's some downsides to it, guys, and this is why it brings up this whole debate on if we should really be pushing to be accepted as a true sport or not. And again, a discussion for another day, but what we ended up finding out was part of that, as somebody posted here, whose Twitter is this? This is Pow, Tyrant of Organ. Anyways, whoever this guy is, he posted these shots of the games and amusement board from the Philippines and what it takes to ultimately get in to the Philippines with the gaming visa here, or the being a competitive player visa. So part of it is that you're tested for drugs, is to get straight to the point. There's drug testing that is involved. Again, the Philippines, you can do your research. I'm not about to make this into this huge political show all of a sudden. They have a very, very, very strict set of rules, one of the most strictest out there in the world, in terms of there is no drug use allowed. If you are caught with drugs, let alone using drugs, you can do some very hard time, and there's even been cases of, yeah, you get the point. It's pretty bad. You do not want to be caught doing drugs in the Philippines, simply put. So with that in mind, part of the visa is, as you can see here, is that they do drug testing. And what drugs are tested for, the two drugs it happens to be, it's only two drugs, which I find is interesting in itself, but is marijuana and shabu, which apparently is a methamphetamine hydrochloride. I'm not a drug. I have no fucking clue what that means, frankly. Marijuana, the one is that I'm focusing on, and I think you know, it's safe to say most are as well. So this came out after teams were invited and had qualified for the event, and my guess is, again, we don't really know what happened behind the scenes. So this is all going to be speculation, guys. I'm going to start off with that. I know nothing as far as actual evidence or what truly happened behind the scenes. But a theory of mine is that when teams were going to get visas to this event, this was then started to be brought up, and they then brought their concern to Valve. Because let's be honest, there is a very good chance a lot of these players smoke weed. And, okay, I shouldn't say a lot. Some of these players smoke weed. And even if it's just one player on the team, obviously that one player, then seeing this, I completely understand, would be almost fearing for their life because of how strict of a law it is out there, and especially if they're going to be doing the drug testing as well going in. Now, I think, I guess, with that said, if you were to do the drug testing and failed, I don't think they would then, you know, arrest you or anything like that. It'd be more of they just send you back, or you just couldn't even go out. Shabu is apparently meth. Okay, shout out to chat right, Gramica in chat right there for pointing that out. There you go. Now, if somebody, okay, if you test positive for meth, that's a completely different story. You probably shouldn't be taking fucking meth. Marijuana, on the other hand, a lot more controversial of whether it even should be allowed or not amongst the whole world. Obviously, here in the U.S., we're struggling with that ourselves. There's even states that do allow it. It is now allowed. Other states are still against it. So it's, again, this is not meant to be a political show here by any means. Point is, this has brought up some interesting conversation, though, from the community in terms of should our esport athletes be tested for drugs? Should these competitors be tested for drugs? Frankly, I'm not for the idea, at least just yet. I don't think we're in a spot to where that is ultimately going to do enough, but at the same time, there is the maybe we should be getting in that direction, because there is the danger factor to it, right? There are reports of some of these players taking specific drugs. Marijuana itself may not necessarily be a enhancer in a lot of ways, but there are other drugs out there that do enhance the precision or the focus of these players, and they take it to stay up as long as they can to make sure they're as focused as possible, which, again, that's a whole nother debate in itself. I'm not a drug expert. I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, which side of the fence I'm necessarily on or not. So, you know, I'm actually just going to stay away from that. I'm just going to, again, state the facts here, tell you what's going on, make it more just the news representation. Okay, so back to the point. This has brought up some debate. Me personally, I do think that whether or not you agree that the players should be tested for drugs, specifically marijuana, in the long run, the issue here was that the players were not informed of this until they were invited / qualified. The timing was the massive issue here, right? It wasn't that, it's not that this is a thing, it's the timing. And I completely understand Valve's perspective on that. This is not Valve making a statement that we are fine with our players doing drugs. That is very clear, to me at least. I know some people are going to take that the way, oh, you're fine with your players smoking all the pot that they want and doing meth or whatever. It's like, no, that's not what's going on here, guys. Be realistic about it. The timing is the biggest issue. And especially a lot of these guys being younger, and again, some of them perhaps smoking weed on top of that, going to a country that's very strict against it. And now having to take a drug test just to stay in the country, it's scary, and I'm sure it was for some of these players that do have that history. And again, so it goes back. I wouldn't be surprised if they reached out to Valve, and that's what started this whole thing. So ultimately, Valve, again, deciding because of the timing of this that it was best not to continue on with supporting this event, as teams were likely going to pull out. And speaking of that, the after effect has already started. Announced earlier today, Virtus Pro officially pulls out of the Galaxy Battles. I really wouldn't be surprised if this is the beginning of several other teams outside of the Southeast Asian region that are going to be pulling out. One other thing to be clear, though, about this, Valve did state that they are going to do their best to find another organization to take over the points as well as the tournament, the major itself. Not going to be easy. It is a major after all, but something tells me it's very possible. I really would not be surprised, and it would include all of the same teams that qualified and were invited to this event. So it would basically be a mirror event of it. So again, also on top of that, I know I'm rambling on in different places here. I do apologize for that, guys, but I really want to make sure I get all the information out. The Galaxy Battles event, as of right now, is still happening. It is still happening. I'm curious to see if we have more updates from their side now, knowing that this is the case, if they perhaps downgrade the event of sorts or what goes on. But as of right now, as of this recording, Galaxy Battles tournament itself is still taking place as we know it. And it's supposed to be taking place January 15th is when it starts. So teams are going to be flying out there pretty soon. So we need some updates here very shortly. Anyways, back to this point, Virtus Pro pulling out. Again, it comes down to the decision here that with it no longer having points on the line, especially, what is the point for them? Yes, there ideally would have still been an okay prize pool that they could have competed for. But again, Virtus Pro isn't in this to win some money at some irrelevant events that aren't, you know, going towards the Dota 2 Pro circuit. Virtus Pro is one of these teams that they're here to win TI8, and this is not going to help them get to TI8, so why would they waste their time playing at the event instead, you know, staying home, qualifying for other events, or just simply putting practice time in from their home, their comfortable place there. So Virtus Pro pulling out. Again, I would not be surprised if several more teams pull out. You look at the team list right here, from Team Secret to Liquid to Evil Geniuses. I'm looking at all these outsider teams. I can't speak for the Chinese teams whether or not they're going to be pulling out because of this. I don't really know too much about them, but yeah, that's going to be interesting. And the one not funny, but the one unfortunate thing about this, of course, Optic Gaming qualifying for this major, and PPD's made the tweet is like, the one major that we haven't been qualifying for, or the one big event, ends up this happening to it. So again, will they now pull out as a result? Who knows? Virtus Pro has officially pulled out, though. They are the first of, I'm guessing, several teams to do so. Perhaps we'll find out later on today into tomorrow with more updates. All right, guys. I think that does it here for my daily recap again, I know I was a little bit out of structure there. I do apologize. I probably should have got a document here, made it a little more concise on what I would talk about. I was all over the place. Hopefully you got some good information out of this, though, and feel free to continue the debate. I'll say that as far as this discussion concerning should players even be drug tested in the first place, and if so, should marijuana be part of that, and you know, and so on. You know, what are your feelings on this situation? Because this goes beyond just Dota 2. It really does. And again, it is super unfortunate for the country of the Philippines, because as somebody that went there recently myself, I went there for the Asus Rogaland, the Southeast Asian qualifiers, had a great time there. I really did. I didn't get to do too much exploring by any means, but I had a fantastic time in the Philippines. Everyone I met was so freaking nice there. And I know for a fact they have very, very passionate Dota 2 fans there. So that is the most unfortunate thing out of all of this, is that their fans are the ones that lose out on this most. So again, hopefully something can be figured out down the line as far as hosting events in the Philippines. Again, as far as the Galaxy Battles event itself, still happening. And then there's the idea that Valve is trying to replace the major with another one. And, you know, and being asked, will there be compensation for the teams? That's going to be the compensation, is that they're going to literally duplicate the teams that were qualified and invited to the Galaxy Major and then put them in this new major that actually has points and stuff. That's the idea, though. That's not going to be easy. I'm sure it's going to take some time, but I could see it definitely happening. Thanks for tuning in, guys. A daily recap. What is January 5th, 2018. We'll see you guys next time. See you tomorrow. Going to go enjoy some Captain's Draft now.